this morning, sun's a bit hazy. Checking the forecast, things looking crazy. A storm on the horizon, the pressure is low. Gotta get moving, put on a show. The news is all buzzing, state of alert, but we've got a plan, we're ready to work. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. See a little fire or a rising flood, we're a well-oiled machine, we're running in the mud. From the city hall meetings to the rescue teams, turning worst case scenarios into hopeful dreams. We're training the people, we're stocking the gear, we're the team you can count on when trouble is near. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. It's more than a job, it's a calling, you see. Prepared for the present and what's yet to be. Every second counts, we're ready to react for our communities. We're making an impact. Emergency Management Associates, we're here for the crisis, we're here for the fates. From the first sign of trouble to the all clear sign, we're on the front lines, we're one of a kind. Emergency Management Associates, we're the calm in the chaos, we're opening gates, connecting the dots and making the calls. We're picking you up when you're starting to fall. Yeah, we're picking you up, we're ready to go. EMA, let's get this show on the road.
Let's do this, guys. Let's turn this tea table over. Let's make it happen. My name is Ron Tyler. I'm the president and chairman of the Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, from the studio at the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina, guys. We're here for you 7 days a week, but we're on the air specifically Monday through Friday, sometime after 4 p.m. Eastern Time, for everything that's going on around the globe, and especially here at home that we're talking about today. Guys, we're going to be talking about earthquakes. We're going to be talking about Cascadia information. You're going to want to hear this. It's new. It's ready to go. We're here for you every time it happens. We're also going to talk about right here in the beginning what happened today in court in Washington, D.C. Okay? In court in Washington, D.C. Let me remind you what happened Saturday night. Let's show you this. This is the head table at the Hilton Hotel, Washington, D.C. What happened? What happened? 5 shots rang out. Look at the picture of Melania there. Look at her image there. She has seen these shootings on television, but this is the first time something has happened when she's been right front, face, and center, sitting right next to her husband. A Secret Service agent is briefing her husband right there. Another Secret Service agent is coming up from the president's left-hand side, our right-hand side, and look at the lady to President Trump's right. She's covering her mouth. She doesn't even believe it's happening. She can't believe it. She's stunned. She's completely stunned. Moments after this, Vice President Vance was whisked off stage, and then Secret Service agents converged on President Trump and Melania and got them out of Dodge. But look at Melania Trump's face. She is astounded. She's blown away. She's completely blown away. Now, something happened today. I've got more information now. Okay? Today, the Department of Justice of the United States government charged Cole Thomas Allen with 3 charges. Let's listen in on what happened in court today.
Be used to disrupt democratic institutions or intimidate those who serve them, and it certainly cannot continue to be used against the President of the United States. We are investigating this matter fully. We will apply the law fairly, and we will ensure that accountability is swift and certain. But we also should recognize what did not happen. Law enforcement did not fail. They did exactly what they are trained to do. This was not an accident. It was the result, as we know now, of preparation. But the men and women who protected us that night were trained, professional, and had an enduring commitment to the rule of law. Today, the Department of Justice filed 3 federal charges in United States District Court against Cole Thomas Allen. The first count is attempted assassination of the President of the United States. This count is punishable by up to life in prison. The second count is interstate transportation of a firearm to commit a felony. This is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. And the third...
Okay, before we go on, he transported several weapons in bags on board an Amtrak train. He left Los Angeles on an Amtrak train. He didn't fly because he would have been caught trying to transport firearms on board a plane. He didn't do that. However, he got on an Amtrak train where they would not be checking his baggage. So he transported a firearm on a train, but that's interstate transportation of a firearm to commit a crime. Okay? That's what happened. Now he's been caught. He's facing charges.
Count is discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence, which is punishable by a mandatory minimum term of imprisonment of 10 years, a maximum of life, and the 10 years is consecutive to any other sentence imposed. Just to go through very quickly the timeline, which many of you in this room already know. The defendant, Allen, made a hotel reservation at the Washington Hilton for April 24th through April 26th. On April 21st of this year, he traveled by train from Los Angeles to Chicago and then from Chicago to Washington, D.C. On April 24th, he arrived in Washington, D.C. at approximately 1 o'clock in the afternoon and checked into the Washington Hilton. Approximately at 8:40 on the night of April 25th, Allen approached a security checkpoint on the terrace level of the hotel, which is again a floor above where the dinner was taking place. He ran through the magnetometer holding a long gun. As he did so, U.S. Secret Service personnel assigned to the checkpoint heard a loud gunshot. One Secret Service officer was shot in the chest, but was wearing a ballistic vest that worked. This heroic officer who was hit fired 5 times at Allen, who was not shot, but fell to the ground and was promptly arrested. I want to thank everybody who worked tirelessly on Saturday, Sunday, and continuing today. This includes members of the FBI, and Director Patel is going to address that in a minute. It includes members of the Metropolitan Police Department who were immediately on the scene, the chief, the mayor, to make sure that law enforcement was available to do their jobs and had all the tools they needed to do so. And lastly, the United States Attorney's Office here in D.C., our U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro and her team, a prosecutor stayed up all night long, didn't sleep all day yesterday, making sure that we got what we needed from all over the country. It included search warrants in California, search warrants here in D.C., multiple interviews that have been conducted already of witnesses and of family members of the charged individual, and continue to work hard today. This investigation is ongoing. It's not complete. A lot of the information that the media is hearing through leaks or sources, some of it is true, some of it is not true, and at the right time you will hear information from us as appropriate. I'd like to ask our U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, to say a few words, and then followed by Director Patel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Cole Allen's journey of accountability in the criminal justice system starts today. Todd Blanche just indicated to you the charges. Those charges are only 3 charges that are in the complaint that has been presented in federal district court about an hour ago. There will be additional charges as this investigation continues to unfold. But make no mistake, this was an attempted assassination of the President of the United States, with the defendant making clear what his intent was. And that intent was to bring down as many of the high-ranking cabinet officials as he could. This is the kind of situation that we cannot tolerate. And as the Attorney General has just indicated, it could have been so much worse, but for the reality that we had the Secret Service as well as the Metropolitan Police Department and the FBI. Now, the facts make it very clear what this intent was. You may recall that it was on March 2nd that the president indicated that he would be attending this public event at the Hilton. And on April 6th, that's when Cole Allen first made a hotel reservation at the Washington Hilton for 3 nights, the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th. It was on April 21st that he traveled all the way from the West Coast, from his home near L.A. He gets to Chicago on April 23rd, and has been indicated he arrives in D.C. on the 24th, and he checks into the hotel at about 3 p.m. He stays overnight. He is very much aware that the President and the First Lady entered the ballroom at 8 p.m. And it was at 8:40 that he made a decision to rush the ballroom. And thank goodness, law enforcement, the Secret Service, was able to prevent him from getting into that ballroom. He was not injured other than some kind of scrape on his knee. Now, as indicated, these are the weapons that the defendant had on his person. You can see that's a 12-gauge pump-action Mossberg shotgun. It's a .38 semi-automatic. He had at least 3 knives and all kinds of paraphernalia. So any suggestion that he wasn't there to do harm is absurd. We will prove when he purchased these guns. They were purchased in California. Why is that relevant? It is relevant because he crossed interstate lines with those firearms, and those are the firearms that he used on the night of the 25th, or attempted to use at the very least. Now, the manifesto also makes clear about his expected rules of engagement. You know, you can look at it and read it, and it may seem kind of la, but at the end, make no mistake, he says, I am targeting the administration officials. They are my targets, and I'm prioritizing from the top down, the highest ranking from the lowest. And I will not hesitate to get involved in any kind of encounter with anyone who blocks me from the president. Now, finally, let me say one thing. Within days of the president nominating me to be the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, I was at the scene of a double homicide, where one Elias Rodriguez crossed state lines from Chicago with a firearm to commit a felony in the district. He's now indicted for the murder of 2 individuals, Laron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, here in Washington. Not long after that, another individual, Ramanullah Lockenwall, crossed state lines, again with a firearm, with intent to commit a felony here in Washington. He traveled from the state of Washington. He is now indicted with the murder of Sarah Beckstrom, a National Guardsman, and the attempted murder of National Guard Andrew Wolf. Today, we have Cole Allen, another individual, charged with crossing state lines coming from California with a firearm with the intent to commit a felony here in the district. Let this be a message to anyone who thinks that Washington, D.C. is the place to act out political violence. And if you are willing to do so with a firearm and cross state lines, we will find you, we will track your steps from the inception of your plan, and we will prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law. Washington, D.C. is not the place to travel to commit acts of violence. The Constitution and the laws of the United States permit us to register our views through our voices and our votes. What they don't permit is making your views known through violence, especially violence directed at the President of the United States. This is anti-democratic at its core.
Thank you, Judge. Excuse me. Thank you, General. This one hits a little differently. We were all there. Many of you were there. Many of you watching were there as well. The President was there. The Vice President was there. The Cabinet was there. And what you saw, described by the General and the U.S. Attorney, is absolutely true. The President spoke on late Saturday evening with the message of unity and a backing of law enforcement, and we have followed through on that message of unity and the effectuation of law enforcement across this country. This FBI is grateful to the United States Secret Service, the Department of Homeland Security, and our interagency partners, including the Metropolitan Police Department, for swiftly jumping into action. All of us on there put us in a unique position, but all of us also acted uniquely. The Washington field office jumped into action immediately, sending a mobile command center to the scene, along with our evidence response technicians, who showed up in speedy fashion to make sure we could collect the evidence that the prosecutors and the department needed to make this announcement today. Also on scene, you were told about the brave heroics of the United States Secret Service and other members of law enforcement. And that should be celebrated by every single American. They did exactly what they were trained to do. They stopped a massive attack from becoming even worse. They stood in the way, they safeguarded America, and they should be nothing but applauded for their bravery and their dedication to their mission and their selfless sacrifice to this country. The FBI, along with standing up mobile command units, evidence tech response team, and Washington SWAT on scene, also established our NC3, our National Crisis Coordination Center, almost immediately. And almost immediately in parallel, we stood up our command center at the Washington field office under ADIC Darren Cox's leadership. Throughout the evening, we immediately began working with our Department of Justice partners to find the evidence necessary to effectuate the legal process necessary and enter into the suspect's room at the Washington Hilton successfully and lawfully and obtain the relevant evidence for exploitation. That was on scene. Back at the headquarters division and the Washington field office, we were coordinating a national scale investigation that literally spanned from coast to coast. As you heard, FBI agents, along with the interagency, were immediately dispatched to the suspect's home in California, where we conducted interviews that provided critical information about this horrific attack. We also dispatched investigators and agents to New London, Connecticut, where we conducted further interviews that provided necessary information that you will find in this criminal complaint, as the United States Attorney has just laid out. While officers were working diligently through the night to conduct those interviews, we were also conducting interviews of witnesses on scene. Those interviews are ongoing. As you know, there was almost 2,000 people there. We are sifting through and prioritizing who to talk to, and we will get to each and every one of you with any bit of relevant information. Again, we ask everybody who has any relevant information, like I did on Saturday night with the President, 1-800-CALL-FBI. Any piece of information is information we want to have and must receive. On top of the on-scene response by this FBI, the headquarters response, and the Washington field office response, the FBI flipped on its enterprise-wide response to this critical incident. What does that mean? We dispatched fixed-wing assets across the country so that we could immediately transport evidence that was acquired in California and Connecticut and sent it to our laboratories in Quantico for analysis. We collected the shell casings on scene, including the firearms and the weapons that the judge talked about. Those were also sent to our Quantico laboratories for immediate analysis. America should be proud that this FBI acted with the urgency that was needed for the moment that we had to answer. The president rightly said that we will act in a unified fashion, and it's because of President Trump's leadership and backing of the blue, every single person in law enforcement that I stood with into late evening hours on Saturday, early evening hours on Sunday, and all day yesterday and today are thrilled to wear the badge and defend this country. Each and every one of them deserves our thanks, and I encourage everyone listening to go out there and shake the hand of a federal agent or police officer and say thank you for doing their job. Thank you for training endlessly to make sure they meet the mission requirements. And for me, as the director of the FBI, I want to thank our headquarters components for working diligently with our prosecutors and make sure that the American public knows it's not just federal agents that do this work. It's our intelligence analysts, our support staff, our laboratories, our fixed-wing assets, our critical incident response groups, our hostage rescue teams. Agents sprung into action, got out of bed, and haven't slept since. These prosecutors haven't slept since, and I promise you they're not going to be sleeping. They are going to give you every piece of evidence. As the journal said, we will make public, when appropriate, to protect the integrity of this investigation, to make sure that due process is served, and we will meet the highest standards of the Constitution as we always do. And that is when we will continue to disclose information. I know the public has a yearning for information, but just remind yourself of how much information you have already received, how transparent this administration has been. In less than 48 hours, you know almost every single thing we know. And what we have not told you yet, we will tell you in short order. So once again, from me, as director of the FBI, I want to thank the interagency. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and their director, Mark Wayne Mullen, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Attorney General of the United States, Attorney Pirro, and Ada Cox for springing into action on a night that should have been celebrating free speech, but we will be doing it again shortly, as the president said, and we look forward to seeing you all there.
That was a report from Washington, D.C. about what happened Saturday night. Guys, it's ongoing. It's going to be ongoing. I can promise you that. Now, I'm not going to show you the White House briefing today, but you can imagine what happened. You can imagine what happened, guys. It's incredible. It's incredible. Now, let me show you again the charges that Cole Thomas Allen is facing. These charges right here. Let me enlarge this so you can read it. Count 1, attempt to assassinate the President of the United States. Count 2, transportation of a firearm and ammunition through interstate commerce. On board a train is what that means. Third count, discharge of a firearm during the crime of violence, an attempt to shoot the President of the United States. That's a proven fact. Last night when I came on the air, I gave you the information about what Cole Thomas Allen said on paper that was delivered by his brother to his family and to law enforcement. Let's go over that one more time. Cole Thomas Allen, 31 years old, an award-winning teacher from Torrance, California, fully armed with a shotgun and a pistol, was taken into custody after the shooting incident near the White House last night, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Now, this is all ongoing. As I showed you before, I showed you the picture of what the President and Melania thought or possibly thinking when that shot rang out, right here. It's plainly simple by the look on Melania's face. She was stunned. She's been around the White House and other places before and after the president has been shot or shot at. She knows it happens. This is the first time that Melania has been in person when it happened. The lady to President Trump's left-hand side, our right, is totally stunned. It was at this point in time the Secret Service was moving in to protect the president, Melania, and all the other people here at the head table. At this point in time, when the president was being briefed right there, you see the Secret Service agent briefing him, looking out over the crowd. At this point in time, Vice President Vance was being taken forcefully away from the head table. President Trump, after this, within seconds after this, he was also taken away from the head table. Okay? That's what happened last Saturday night. Now, this man was the Secret Service attempted to try to stop him at a checkpoint before he could reach the ballroom. I showed you the video Saturday night. Actually, last night. I showed it to you last night because I didn't want to come on the air Saturday night because so many things were up in the air. And at the time, Saturday night, there were some sources saying that Cole Thomas Allen had been shot and killed, which is not the case. Okay, that's why I did not go on the air Saturday night. But yes, last night I did. I had all my ducks in a row. They attempted to stop him at the security checkpoint. You saw during the previous video. At that point in time, roughly 2,500 guests were seated at tables throughout that ballroom. About 10 minutes before the shots were fired outside Washington Hilton Saturday night, Cole Thomas Allen had already put everything in writing. He had issued a manifesto. He wanted to make sure people understood why he did it. Allen had sent a manifesto to his members of his family. It was Allen's brother who first raised the alarm and subsequently handed the manifesto to the police, the text portions of which are available online if you want to read them. Now, I'm going to offer you a detailed account of his reasoning from his manifesto that I'm going to read to you today and share it with you. Okay? This is from his family. Allen, Cole Thomas Allen, signed the document with the name Cole Cold Force Friendly Federal Assassin Allen. That was his signature. The signature was Cole Cold Force Friendly Federal Assassin Allen. Okay? In his manifesto, his intended targets were being high-ranking members of the Trump administration ranked by seniority. He excluded FBI Director Kash Patel for whatever reason. He also gave his assessment of the security arrangements at the venue. Okay? He was stopped at a checkpoint before he could reach the ballroom. Finally, they stopped him. He ran through one checkpoint that was actually being disassembled before the dinner happened. After the guests had gotten in, that first checkpoint was being disassembled as Cole Thomas Allen ran through that checkpoint. Unreal. I don't know why it was being disassembled, but it was. In the manifesto, Allen explained at length why he believed his actions were justified. Quote, in order to minimize casualties, I will also be using buckshot rather than slugs. Buckshot in a shotgun is BBs. BBs, for less penetration through walls. I would still go through most everyone here to get to the targets if it were absolutely necessary, on the basis that most people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, a rapist, a traitor, and are thus complicit. But I really hope it doesn't come to that, unquote. Now, last night, CBS News interviewed President Trump. The reporter woman interviewed President Trump on 60 Minutes, said he was a pedophile. President Trump tore her a big butthole. President Trump ripped her up. He said, I have never touched a child, ever. I am not a rapist. You people that say I am are sick. There is no evidence whatsoever that says I was a pedophile or a rapist. None at all. The people that accuse me of that, they have had those accusations unfounded in the court system. President Trump ripped her butt. Ripped her butt. That was after the dinner. Quote, turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. I'm not the person raped in a detention camp. I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. I'm not a school kid blown up, or a child starved, or a teenage girl abused by the many criminals in this administration. Turning the other cheek when someone else is oppressed is not Christian behavior. It is complicity in the oppressor's crimes. He also wrote, quote, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and a traitor to coat my hands with these crimes. Allen also addressed how he planned to approach the attack, including the type of ammunition he had chosen and why. The manifesto named his intended targets as administration officials. Their targets, prioritized from highest ranking to lowest, ranked in order of seniority. Notably, Allen specifically excluded FBI Director Kash Patel from the list. Allen also described how he had entered the hotel with multiple weapons without even being challenged by anyone. Quote, the one thing I immediately noticed walking into the hotel is a sense of arrogance. I walked in with multiple weapons, and not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. Unquote. That's how audacious he was. That's how arrogant he was. He said the hotel staff was arrogant. That was his arrogance. He was proving it. Quote, the security at the event is all outside, focused on protesters and current arrivals, because apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before. Like, this level of incompetence is insane. And I sincerely hope it is corrected by the time this country gets actually competent leadership again. In other words, he was hoping that President Trump would be taken out. Unreal. He goes on, like, if I were an Iranian agent instead of an American citizen, I could have brought a damn Meduse in here and no one would have noticed SHIT. Actually insane, unquote. Allen also addressed how he planned to approach the attack, including the type of ammunition he had chosen and why. Quote, and oh, if anyone is curious is how doing something like this feels. It's awful. I want to throw up. I want to cry for all the things I want to do and never will. For all the people whose trust this betrays, I experience rage thinking about everything this administration has done. That ends his manifesto. Again, I want to say this. This man is sick. This man is deranged. You saw the DOJ today show the prosecution of what they intend to charge Cole Thomas Allen with. He's going to address the court later this week on Thursday. He's going to be brought in to address a federal judge on Thursday and finally be arraigned. Okay, that's what his plan right now. Today he announced the DOJ brought him before a judge to charge him. He will be arraigned on Thursday. Okay, that's what's planned now. There may be more charges that he will be charged with. Again, Let me show you the charges he's going to be charged with. Count 1, attempt to assassinate the President of the United States. Count 2, transportation of a firearm and ammunition through interstate commerce. In other words, state to state on board a train. He did not take a plane because he would have been found out. If he tried to take a plane, they would have gone through his luggage and they would have caught him then. He took a train because he was not allowed, or they were not allowed to check his baggage on the train. Count 3, discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence. Now, these all 3 charges here are charges that anybody would have been charged with. However, I don't think the DOJ is completely finished with charging him with crimes. I think during the next 72 hours, they're going to come up with more crimes, and we will know more about that on Thursday morning when he's brought again before a judge to be arraigned on these charges. Does anybody have any questions about Cole Thomas Allen right now? When it says idiot security, I absolutely agree. Total idiot security. Now, guys, I've been going over this and over this in my mind. I was a cop. When I was in San Diego in 1994, there was a presidential nominating convention in San Diego. I was there. I helped protect the nominee in 1994, the Republican nominee in 1994. I was there on the premises. I was outside as well. We protected the San Diego Convention Center probably even better than they protected the Washington Hilton Saturday night. Security teams, including the FBI, the Secret Service, San Diego Police, San Diego Sheriff's Office, federal police like I was, were in and outside the venue, all over the place. There were security checkpoints everywhere. Nobody could ever get in that convention center without us knowing about it. And as a result, nothing happened. I know all about security. I've done it. I've exercised it. What happened Saturday night should not have ever happened. That security checkpoint you saw on that video today was being taken down before the dinner was even accomplished. Being taken down before the dinner was ever accomplished. Possibly, just like this Cole Thomas Allen did, he ran through the checkpoint. The magnetometer is being disassembled at that point. It should have been up until the end of the dinner. Wasn't. It wasn't. Now, if I had it available, and yes, I do have it available, but I don't want to go painstakingly through it. But when that Cole Thomas Allen man ran through the checkpoint, there were 3 officers with their backs against the wall. 3 law enforcement officers with their backs against the wall. Why? Why were they leaning against the wall? Why were they there? What was their purpose? Guys, the middle officer, if you look at that video closely again, the middle officer had to be dragged away from the checkpoint after Cole Thomas Allen ran through it. Why, we don't know. Was he another officer that had been shot himself? We don't know. Was he the officer that actually got shot? We don't know. But that center officer had to be dragged up from the floor. He couldn't get up from the floor himself. It's obvious to me something happened. Okay, something happened. I don't know. I don't know. But something happened to him. Now, with that said, again, why did it happen? Idiot security. Idiot security. Linda Covington says it's Monday now. Yes, I'm acting like a Monday night quarterback. Yes, I am. We have a president of the United States now. They've tried to shoot him and take him out 5 different times since 2024. 5 separate times since 2024. At what point in time is security going to be taken seriously? What point in time is security going to be taken seriously? I go back to Pennsylvania. I want to go back to Pennsylvania. The young man Crook that shot President Trump and killed one other person and severely injured another. He was stopped by law enforcement on the ground before he got up to the top of that building. He had been stopped. Why did they let him go? Why did they let him go? Why did they not check his bag? In his bag, he carried the long rifle that he shot President Trump with. Why did he not check his bag? He also had a rangefinder to look through to assess how far away that he was from President Trump, so he could adjust the firearm, the long rifle that he was going to shoot, so he could adjust the sights on that to make sure he would hit the target. Unreal. Why did law enforcement not check his bag? Why did they let him go? Then, another question I have. You may remember this. There were officers from the sheriff's office there in Pennsylvania. They were in the building that Thomas Crooks was on. They were inside the building that Thomas Crook was on. They had a window view of where Thomas Crook would be. Why were they not at that window when Thomas Crook was there? They made an assessment then. Oh, I have to take a break. It was during that break that Thomas Crook took a shot or several shots at President Trump. Why? Where was the security? I have more questions than that. In Pennsylvania, the Secret Service did not brief local law enforcement on the scene to assist them. There was no briefing held. Why not? Why not? Why were security checkpoints not manned sufficiently to stop Thomas Crooks from going in? Why? And why not? Why were sheriff's deputies let go before the event in Pennsylvania was even started? Yes, there were sheriff's deputies who were allowed to leave before the event even started. Maybe those sheriff's deputies would have had a hand in catching Thomas Crooks before he did what he did. There was also not sufficient law enforcement on scene in Pennsylvania for that venue. Why not? Again, I go back to what happened in Pennsylvania that day. First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden, was also holding an event in Pennsylvania. They took Secret Service agents away from President Trump's venue to staff Jill Biden's venue. Jill Biden's venue was held in a hotel. The hotel room security would have been just sufficient with Jill Biden's security team. They did not need extra agents, but extra agents were taken away from President Trump's venue. They didn't have sufficient police officers even to help staff that venue at all. I have a lot of questions why. Now, guys, I have my own reasons why. The President of the United States was a Democrat. The President of the United States was a Democrat. he hated President Trump. And in fact, prior to that incident, Biden had told the crowd at a rally for him that he would like to take President Trump out behind a barn and punch him. Yeah. The President of the United States wanted to take President Trump out in the back of a barn and punch him. Unreal. Uncut and picking real. Not just President Biden, though. Chuck Schumer also basically said the same thing. Not just Chuck Schumer. Elizabeth Warren, known as Pocahontas, said that she wanted to take out President Trump physically to remove him from even running for president. Not just Elizabeth Warren. Nancy Pelosi said the same thing. Several other Democrat political leaders in Washington had said the same thing. Why are they still in office today? Why are they still in office today? They shouldn't be there. They should be sitting in jail cells, guys. Those people should be sitting in jail cells. They threaten the life of a president of the United States, and they're still doing so. They're still doing so, guys. President Trump had then been a former president. He was running for president. They were threatening his life. They should be in jail. They should be sitting their butts in jail right now. Now, one other thing in this picture here today. Guess what? Guess what? Barack Hussein Obama, former President Obama. And yes, I should have made sure that you saw this on your screen before I came into this program today. But I failed to bring it up. I'm going to show you now. It's on my device. It's right here. This is a statement from Barack Hussein Obama about what happened in Washington, D.C. on Sunday night. Let me read it to you. Although we don't have the details about the motives behind last night's shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, they had the details, guys. Barack Obama had the details. Cole Thomas Allen's brother had released the manifesto yesterday. So when Obama released this detailed statement, he'd also seen the manifesto. He was denied. Obama was denied the motives behind Cole Thomas Allen's doing what he did. Although we don't have the details behind the motives of last night's shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, it's incumbent upon all of us to reject the idea that violence has any place in our democracy. It's also a sobering reminder of the courage and sacrifice of U.S. Secret Service agents that they show every day. I'm grateful to them. I'm thankful for the agent who was shot is going to be okay. He's saying he's rejecting the idea that violence has any place in our democracy. Yet Biden and Obama are behind everything that's been going on. Obama has been the puppet master behind Biden. Obama has been the puppet master behind Biden. And Obama, in the statement yesterday evening, He lied about it. He said he didn't know the motive. He did. Barack Hussein Obama knew the motive. He's denying that he knew it. What a joke that is. What a joke that is. Now, on Friday, Jimmy Kimmel on ABC on his television show told the public, you can go back and watch his program on YouTube, it's there. Go back and watch his program. He said that the First Lady would make a good former First Lady during his program. He stood at a fake presidential podium. Jimmy Kimmel stood at a fake presidential podium, addressing Melania as if she was a former First Lady. First Lady Melania Trump issued this statement. Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel should not have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. A coward, Kimmel hides behind the ABC network because he knows that the network will keep running to cover to protect him. Enough is enough. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC and their leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community? Again, Jimmy Kimmel on Friday night led everybody to believe that President Trump was no longer existing, that she was a former First Lady. How atrocious is that? How atrocious is it for figures in our own society, leaders in our own society, Kimmel, a comedian? Why is he doing this? You have never seen Johnny Carson do that during his monologues years ago. Never. He was a consummate professional. Yes, he poked fun at political leaders. He did. I saw him poke fun at Richard Nixon many times. I saw him poke fun at Gerald Ford. I saw him poke fun at Bill Clinton. I saw him poke fun at all those presidents. But he never called for their assassination. He never made fun of their wives. He took it seriously. He took it seriously. You don't threaten somebody's life at all, ever. But Jimmy Kimmel did on Saturday night. And I'm going to call right now anybody that watches this program from ABC, from the network, take Jimmy Kimmel down once and for all. Remove his status from your network. Completely remove him. Nobody ever should be in his position that will do this kind of thing, ever. I don't care whether they don't like the president at all. They have no business doing this. Nobody. Nobody at all. And it's because of this violent rhetoric that someone has tried to take President Trump's life now 5 times. 5 times. What kind of crap is that? What kind of crap is that? Anybody that is watching this program right now, YouTube is saying we only have 14 people watching it. One point in time we had 21. That's another element here. YouTube does not like my rhetoric. YouTube does not like my channel. I have a feeling there's more people watching than they are saying there is. But I'm going to ask everybody that watches this program, write to ABC and condemn Jimmy Kimmel for what he did. condemn Jimmy Kimmel for what he did and ask ABC, take Jimmy Kimmel's show off the network. Take it off the network. Do not replay any of his shows at all. Take him completely off the network right now. Remove him. ABC and any television network that does something like this, they should lose their ABC license. They should lose their television network license. They should not ever be on the air. To the FCC chairman, the Federal Communications Commission chairman, grab ABC's license until they take Jimmy Kimmel down and swear a statement in court that they will not allow this to happen again. That's what should happen, guys. That is exactly what should happen. This kind of violent rhetoric should never happen, ever. Yet they have been allowed to do it. Politicians have been allowed to do it. I challenge every politician I've ever seen on the air when I've been on the air. I've challenged them. Nancy Pelosi should be removed from the House of Representatives. She should be removed from the Senate. Elizabeth Warren, Senator, should be removed from the Senate. Chuck Schumer should be removed from the Senate. Hakeem Jeffries, the minority whip in the House of Representatives, he should be removed from the House. All of them have made statements against President Trump that are violent and hateful. You Republicans, you conservatives that are in charge, remove them from the Senate and the House immediately. Put charges against them like you can do. Exercise your prerogative as leadership of this country to remove those senators and congressmen from their positions in leadership in our government. Remove them immediately. Don't allow them to continue ever again. We should not allow this to ever happen again. Now, Linda Covington has gone a little further than I just said. I'm going to repeat what she said because I believe what she said. Linda Covington says, don't buy anything that they promote sponsor-wise. Don't buy anything from their sponsors. And that's a good idea. I'm going to go to my wife after this program is over and talk to my wife about any sponsors that ABC has, that we will remove those sponsors from any of our purchases ever again until those sponsors take positions against the media here. They need to take positions against media, and rightfully so. The kind of violence that we've endured during the past 3 years should never happen. The New York State Attorney General should resign. He should resign. The New York City Attorney should resign. They wrongfully accused President Trump of charges that were thrown out by the court. Thrown out. They don't exist. The Attorney General in Georgia has been removed herself for falsifying documentation against President Trump. Any political leader, any elected political leader should resign immediately. If you have any doings in violence against President Trump, he should resign immediately. Okay? I'm going to warn all of you. I'm going to warn all of you in terms of politicians. If I catch you, I will put handcuffs on your wrists. I will arrest you. Yes, I am a former police officer, but I will make a citizen's arrest on you and charge you with treason against our government. I will charge you with violence against our politicians. I'll charge you with violence against this country. Yes, I can do that. You can do that as well. But I've been trained sufficiently in restraining people, and I will restrain those politicians that made bad statements, horrible, violent statements against our other politicians. I will arrest them. And I'm going to call on all federal officers nationwide. If you find a politician with rhetoric, making violent comments against other politicians, arrest them. Take them off their bully pulpit. Arrest them and put them in jail and charge them with crimes. Charge them, guys. They belong in prison. They belong in prison. Plain and simple. Barack Obama belongs in prison. Mr. Biden belongs in prison. Although I don't think he could be charged right now because the courts would say, oh, he's too feeble. He doesn't have the mental capacity they used to have. They would use that to keep him alive, keep him out of jail. Sad. Sad. Now, guys, I see our viewership is going in the toilet. Just a minute ago, we had 13 viewers. Now it's back up to 16. Yes, I am very emphatic about what I'm saying here because I believe it. Things have to change, and things have to change immediately. Not just because President Trump is in office. They should never happen again, ever. Not ever. What is going on is vile. Wrong. Wrong. Feloniously wrong. Feloniously wrong. End it. Stop doing it. Make changes. Make sure our country stays strong. Make sure our country stays strong, ladies and gentlemen. It's up to you and it's up to me. And I'm taking care of business in my way right now, today. And I've been taking care of business for a long time now. I'm going to do it as long as it takes to rid our population of people that hate this country. I will do whatever it takes to put these people behind bars. No, I'm not going to exercise violence, but I will do whatever it takes to put these people behind bars. Plain and simple. Now, I'm done with my rant. Guys, there's some other things we need to talk about today. Quite a few other things we need to talk about. I want to talk today about earthquakes. Earthquakes, guys. We have no major earthquakes all around our globe. We have no major earthquakes around the globe at all. None. We have some large 5.0 earthquakes, yes. We have some 4.0, 4.8 earthquakes as well. And one 4.9, 5.0. Guess what? In a place like Indonesia that has 63 earthquakes there today, USGS is showing one earthquake over in Sumatra. That's it. One earthquake. There are plenty of other earthquakes. There are tremors, there are minor earthquakes, there are 3.0 earthquakes, there are moderate 4.0, 4.9, and a couple 5.0, 5.2, 5.3 earthquakes. That's it. That's it. Now, in regards to these earthquakes, this past week, on Thursday, our planet got hit with two X-class flares. Two X-class flares hit our planet, Saturday into Sunday. If you notice your television program going faint or going into a gray area on your television, that's because the X-class flares, now the plasma radiation penetrating our atmosphere, acting up against the television radio signals they're putting on the television screen. The plasma radiation is affecting what we're seeing on our television. It's affecting radio communications of all kinds. Police, fire department, and ham radio activities are in shall I say, limber, temporarily being postponed at times, blackout conditions sometimes, because of plasma radiation. Right after those two X-class flares hit the Earth, the radiation point, the X-ray radiation, that's when the high-frequency radio communication was made blackout, mostly on the south end of the planet near Australia. It eventually covered the entire Earth. The plasma radiation is what's causing problems with our television signals. Also, it's going to be causing earthquakes. We've not seen any major earthquakes in the past 72 hours, but it's still possible it could happen. Because again, the plasma radiation from those X-class flares has already reached the Earth yesterday, I should say Saturday night into yesterday, and they're still hitting today. That plasma radiation is still hitting today. Now, let me show you some earthquakes here. I'm going to start with the Pacific Northwest. I'm first going to start with Mount Baker to the north of Washington, just south of the Canadian border here. This is Mount Baker. This is Baker-Shuckson. Okay? What I'm going to show you here, I'm going to take up the whole screen to show you this. I want you to see it. Look what they're not showing us. Look what they're not showing us. Hardly anything going on. They're showing us one tiny tremor from last night. One tiny tremor from last night. Then we go into this afternoon. Look what happened. Look what happened. We actually see a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake late this morning. Late this morning, guys. Craziness. Then we see a couple other 1.9, 2.0 earthquakes. And then another on the blue line there. That one on the blue line, guys, is 2:40 p.m. on the left-hand side. Over here, we're at 2:50 p.m. Pacific time. That is a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. The earthquake on the left-hand side is also a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Mount Baker. Mount Baker. But guess what I'm going to show you now? I want to show you what actually happened at Mount Baker. I want to show you right now what happened at Mount Baker. Because what has happened, guys, what has happened should not have happened. Should not have happened. Why do I say that? Look at this. This is Baker-Shuckson. Same mountain, same volcano. On the north side of the volcano is where this seismograph is at. You saw the seismogram showing you earthquakes at Mount Baker. But what they didn't show you is this. This particular seismogram is showing you magma movement coming into the volcano. Magma movement coming into the volcano. The top line was Sunday evening, 5 p.m. All those wavy lines here are very active magma, large amounts of magma coming into Mount Baker. Hours went by here, guys. Then all of a sudden, about 11 p.m., things started calming down. Between 11 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. Between 11 p.m. and 5:30 a.m., you see less magma here. The wavy lines come under control here. Less magma. But what happened this morning? What happened this morning, guys? After 4 a.m. this morning. Look again. Look at this active magma here, guys. All of a sudden it came back. It came back here. When you have active magma like this, you're going to see earthquakes. You're going to see a lot of earthquakes. But guess what? We are not seeing that on the other seismograph. The seismograph that printed this, showed us this, has the other channel here, which should have shown us earthquakes, but it did not. That means the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has altered the data. They've altered the data on the other seismograph. It should be showing us a lot of earthquakes happening, but it's not, because they altered the data. Then look what happens early this morning after 8 a.m., the bottom part of this seismograph. Look at this. Very active magma. A large amount of magma is coming into Mount Baker this morning. This should cause a lot more earthquakes than they're showing here. They only showed us 2 minor earthquakes that are 2.7, 2.8, and one 2.8, 2.9, and 2 others, they're probably 2.0 earthquakes, minor earthquakes. What we should be seeing here on this particular seismograph is a lot more earthquakes. They're not showing it, meaning the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network altered the data. Altered the data in cooperation with USGS. They're cooperating with USGS. They don't want to show us what's going on. They should be showing us what's going on. They're not doing it. They're plain not doing it. They're violating law. Now, I've put this up here before. I put this kind of information up here before. You need to know about it. This information affects you all. All of us. All of us, guys. If we lived in Washington State, we would be affected by what's happening at these volcanoes and other places. And yes, I'm going to show you earthquakes at other places as well, besides the volcanoes. You would be affected by what's going on. But again, the agencies are deleting or altering the information. Let's go over to Glacier Peak. Many times through my career here, the past 7+ years now, Glacier Peak has been shown to be an active volcano. Look what they're showing us here. One earthquake. One earthquake. Last night. A 2.6, 2.7 earthquake happened last night about I want to say about 1:22, 1:23 a.m. this morning, Pacific time. Look at this. Look at this. They're not showing us anything else. They've altered the document. They've altered the document just like they alter everything else. They don't want to be straight with us. Let's go over to the Puget Sound, Grays Harbor, Washington. Look at this. Look here at the activity at Grays Harbor, guys. These are tremors. These are tremors. Yes, there are some minor 2.0, 2.2 earthquakes here as well. But most of this are minor tremors. Only minor tremors here. Now, there is one point early this morning one point early this morning where I believe we may have had a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. Grays Harbor, Washington. You see that here. Just after 10:30 this morning on the blue line on the left-hand side. About 10:33 a.m. this morning, 2.5, 2.6 earthquake. That earthquake lasts just over a minute and a half. Just over a minute and a half. Then all we have the rest of the time are just tremors, just tiny tremors. 1.0 to 1.9 tremors here. Okay? Puget Sound, Grays Harbor. I'm going to show you something else here as well. One other place here. Let me find it here. Orcas Island. Orcas Island. Look at this. Last night you see a lot of tiny tremors here. Tiny tremors and 2 minor earthquakes. 2, 2.0, 2.1 earthquakes here. Late this morning, early afternoon, look at this. More tremors here. Orcas Island, Washington. In the past, we've had more earthquakes than this. They may have altered this seismogram as well. Let me show you some more here. Okay. I want to go over to I was for sure right here. This in the Sound, Washington. Look at this. This is not at a volcano. This is closer to the shoreline of Washington State. Look what we're seeing here. Large amount of movement. Large amount of movement here. These are tremors, guys. These are tremors. This is from Radar Ridge in Sound, Washington. Look at that. And continue into this morning, into this afternoon as well. At the bottom of this, on the black line, you are actually seeing some 2.0 earthquakes here. You're seeing some 2.0 earthquakes here as well. That's significant. Earthquakes are hitting the shoreline of Washington State. There's a reason. There's a reason here. Now let me show you a few more here. Let me show you a few more here. Let's go over to Ocean Shores, Washington. Ocean Shores, Washington. Again, this is on the shoreline, guys. On the shoreline. Look what's happening here at the top. I believe what happened here at the top is automated, guys, by a machine. There's some drilling or something going on near Ocean Shores, Washington for that to happen. That is not natural movement. However, look at what we see going on. We see thicker and thinner lines here. The thicker lines are magma down beneath the surface of the earth that we walk on. We're walking on the crust of the earth, but there's magma tunnels down there, magma chambers, magma headed for the volcanoes, guys. These thicker lines are showing magma headed for the volcanoes. Unreal. This is called magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals. Sometimes you see them on some of the seismograms at the volcanoes. But in this case, the magma's headed from the Pacific Ocean from the Pacific Plate over here onto the North American Plate, head towards volcanoes. Magma pulse signals. Then, this morning, into this afternoon, look what we see here. More magma pulse signals, and guess what? We also see some earthquakes as well, and tremors too. Tremors too. Look at all these tremors and some magma pulse signals. We have some earthquakes here. After approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon on the red line there, you see an earthquake. Approximately 2:03 this afternoon, 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Started off with a 2.5, 2.6, became a 2.7, 2.8, then possibly even a 2.8, 2.9. Then it came down to 1.9 tremors and then dissipated. Later on down that same red line, we have more earthquakes. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake, 2.6, 2.7, and then tremors here. Tremors. Ocean Shores, Washington. Earthquakes are hitting other places besides the volcanoes. Why? Because, guys, the Cascadia event is real. The Cascadia event is real. The Cascadia earthquake is not hitting yet, but the Cascadia event is putting pressure on the landmass, causing earthquakes. The Cascadia event, the Cascadia megathrust earthquake fault, is putting pressure on the North American Plate, right here in Washington State and Oregon, putting pressure, causing these earthquakes here. That's what's actually happening. We've got more. We've got a lot more. Let me show you more. I'm going to go down to Pale, Washington. Pale, Washington, right here. This seismogram is at an elementary school in Pale, Washington. Up at the top, we see tiny tremors and a point last night that they turned off the seismograph. Where you see a white area here above that is where the seismograph had been turned off. Where you see little or no activity at all, the seismograph has been turned way down where it's not registering anything at all. Then this morning, look what happens. This morning and this afternoon, look what happens here. We have more and more tremors. And suddenly we have some earthquakes. That's because the seismologists come back into work this morning. The seismologists come back into work this morning. They turn up the seismographic equipment, and all of a sudden we're seeing some earthquakes again. Earthquakes. All of these earthquakes are either tremors and or minor earthquakes. Tremors 1.0, 1.9. Minor earthquakes 2.0 to 2.7 in magnitude. Minor earthquakes nobody's going to feel. Nobody feels minor earthquakes except maybe someone that's very, very sensitive. Normal people won't feel an earthquake until it's at least a 3.0, 3.2. 3.0, 3.2. Here in this location, Pella, Washington, we're only seeing some minor tremors and some minor earthquakes here. That's all. There's more. There's more than what we came for here. Let me show you some more here. Let's go over to Rattlesnake Lake, Washington. No, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. I want to take you over to the Southwest Regional Airport in Kelso, Washington. Southwest Regional Airport in Kelso, Washington. Kelso, Washington. Look what we're seeing here. Look what's happening here, guys. Here you've seen magma here, magma pulse signals here. Magma pulse signals going through each line here. The magma pulse signals are showing magma beneath the surface of the earth, what we're walking on. Magma headed for the volcanoes from the Pacific Plate. That's what's happening here. Look at all these magma pulse signals here, lots of them. Notice also, where there's no activity, that's because the agency has turned the seismograph down where it's not going to show anything. They do that. But what happens this morning when they come back in to work? They turn it back up. They turn it back up. Yes, we still have some magma pulse signals here. But suddenly, we also see some tremors. And at one point in time, about 12 noon today, 12 noon on the left-hand side, over here on the right, about 12:11, 12:12 this morning or this afternoon, all of a sudden we see a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. 2.3, 2.4 earthquake, guys. Insane. Insane. They want to make sure we don't see anything. Then when they come back to work, they turn the seismograph equipment, and suddenly we have activity here. Suddenly we have activity. I've proven that time and time again over the years. Over and over again over the years. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens too often. It happens way too often here. Hold on a second, guys. I want to go down to Oregon for just a minute and show activity in Oregon. It's not just in Washington State. It's all over. It's all over. Let's go to Seaside, Oregon, near the coast, right here. Look at this. This morning, and this is the case every day. Every day, Seaside, Oregon, we at least see tremors here. Sometimes we see earthquakes as well. Again, this top line here is yesterday evening at 8 p.m. Yesterday evening at 8 p.m. Tremors, guys. Nothing but tremors here. But what happens later on with that? All of a sudden, late this morning, early this morning, late this afternoon, I shouldn't say late this afternoon, early this morning into early afternoon, we have more and more tremors here. More and more point blank tremors here. Not just showing a dot or two, but larger dots, larger earthquake tremors. Seaside, Oregon. Now I'm going to take you another place here in Oregon here. Oh, where'd it go? Let's go down to South Central Oregon, Toketee, Oregon. Toketee, Oregon. Look at this. That's this afternoon here. Let's take you back to this morning. Or yesterday, last night, early this morning. Nothing showing. That's because when they went off duty last night, they turned the seismographs down where it's not going to show anything. They don't want to take responsibility for anything they can't see themselves when it happens. But what happens today? Basically the same thing here. But today, we have some earthquakes. 2 earthquakes here. Crazy. Crazy. 2 earthquakes. That's because the agency turned up the seismograph so you can see these earthquakes. One such earthquake happened at approximately 12:08, 12:09 this afternoon. That earthquake is a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. The next earthquake is a 2.9, 3.0. 2.9, 3.0 that happened about 12:50 this afternoon. Approximately 12:50 this afternoon. So we had possibly 2 minor earthquakes, one possibly being as high or as large as a 3.0 small earthquake. Unreal. Unreal. Again, these earthquakes are other places than the volcanoes. I've only shown you 2 volcanoes so far, Mount Baker to the north and Glacier Peak just 40 miles south of there. Let's show you some earthquakes at Mount Rainier. Good old Mount Rainier, guys. Oh, please tell me. The agency made sure I wouldn't have pictures of Mount Rainier. They deleted the pictures off my database. Dadgummit. Dadgummit. I do have seismic energy hitting Mount St. Helens though. I'm going to show you Mount St. Helens here. I want to show you Sugar Bowl just north of Mount St. Helens there. Right here. Sugar Bowl, Mount St. Helens. Last night, you see some tremors here and 1 earthquake. Actually, 2 earthquakes. The first earthquake was early last night at approximately approximately 9:40 last night. We have a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake there. And then right before we change over here on that green line here you see here, kind of blots it out. This is after 5:30 this morning. Approximately 5:30 this morning, we have a 2.6, 2.7 minor earthquake right there in the center of your screen there. 2.6, 2.7 earthquake there. Then we come back to this afternoon. All we have here are my tiny, tiny tremors, and then this afternoon, it changes. It changes. Maybe a 2.5 earthquake caused by magma at Mount St. Helens. Magma at Mount St. Helens. This is Sugar Bowl on the north side of Mount St. Helens. I've got more information about Mount St. Helens right here as well. Let's go over to Mount St. Helens SCP. SCP is September lobe. SCP is September lobe. Look at this. This shows you very little activity. This is supposed to show us magma coming into the magma chamber here. It hardly shows us anything at all. Then the late morning, early afternoon here. One more seismogram here. Doggone it. I thought I had to show you one more seismogram, but I don't. That's because the agency took that also down. This is the activity coming from Mount St. Helens, September lobe, that shows us magma coming in the magma chamber at Mount St. Helens. I believe this information has been altered. I believe it's been altered. There's a lot more magma than it's showing in here coming into Mount St. Helens yesterday and today. Lots more. They're not showing it to us. However, let's take a look at Newberry Volcano. Newberry Volcano. Actually, before we get to Newberry, let's show you Mount Hood. Good old Mount Hood. The first thing I'm going to show you is Timberline on the south lower side of Mount Hood. Timberline Volcano. Mount Hood. Mount Hood Volcano at Timberline. Timberline is where government camp is on the lower side of Mount Hood. Timberline is where there is a small museum of sorts at the bottom of Mount Hood showing activity at Mount Hood. There's a seismograph there. On this particular seismograph, look what's going on here. Yesterday evening, 8 p.m., very little, if any, activity happening. Hardly anything going on. One tremor this evening, yesterday evening, at about 9:15, one tiny tremor, 1.2, 1.3 maybe. Then all of a sudden, what happens early this morning after 12:30 on the red line? All of a sudden, we have a magma burst here. A magma burst. A big shot of magma here. Big shot of magma. And at the big beginning of this shot of magma, we have a 2.0 earthquake. Why? Because when that magma came into the magma chamber, came in under pressure, causing that magma to fracture rock inside the magma chamber here at Mount Hood, causing rocks to shatter, causing earth movement here. Then look what happens here. All of a sudden here at Mount Hood, we have an explosion of magma here. On each of these lines here, on each one of these lines here, we're showing magma pulse signals. Magma pulse signals here. Also here, you're seeing vertical lines here. Vertical lines, those vertical lines are tremors and minor earthquakes. Tremors and minor earthquakes that are happening here at Mount Hood. Mount Hood. Then this afternoon, look what we're showing here. Look at all this data here. Yes, we have a lot of tremors here. Look what we're showing you. Magma coming into the magma chamber at Mount Hood here under pressure. And we're showing you increased seismic activity here because there's magma coming in under pressure at one point in time for maybe an hour. Maybe an hour. You no longer saw any white lines. You no longer saw any white lines. It's full of color here. That's because there was so much magma coming into the magma chamber at the time, it completely obliterated out the white paper. In this case, the white here is digital, so it's not just paper, it's digital. But here you see magma coming into the magma chamber, magma pulse signals, large enough to cause the background to completely go away. And it's also causing tremors and minor earthquakes to happen as well. Vertical lines here in this case are minor tremors and minor earthquakes. Now look at the far right on that one red line to the right here. Okay? That is after, I want to say 10, say about 10:28, 10:29 this morning. That's a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake caused by the fracturing rock at Mount Hood, causing earth movement. Fraction rock inside Mount Hood, causing fraction rock, causing earth movement. 2.5, maybe a 2.6 earthquake here. Maybe a little bit larger. That's what happens. This is what is going on at Mount Hood. Let me show you another seismogram here. In this case, this seismogram, again, Mount Hood, up further up the side of the volcano. Same side, the south side of Mount Hood. This is out Palmer Lift, the ski resort. The ski resort going up the side of Mount Hood. Last night at 8 o'clock. Not much activity, just tiny tremors here. Tiny tremors that just barely registered here on the seismograph. However, early this morning, we start seeing some other tremors here. We see some magma pockets here. We see some magma pockets here. Yes, there's a little bit more magma coming in here, magma pulse signals. And then we have some larger pockets of magma coming in. With those pockets of magma still causing rocks to fracture, causing tremors. Tremors happening here. Look what happened at approximately 4:40 this morning. 4:40, 4:41 this morning on the left blue line here. 2.5, 2.6 earthquake here. Over on the right, we may have had 2.0 earthquakes here. And this afternoon, late morning, early afternoon, nothing happened at all. Zero, zilch. Nothing happened. Why not? I don't know. I don't know. Let's take a look at another seismograph from Mount Hood. This one is also north of Mount Hood. This is at Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom, Dick, and Harry is another volcano linked to Mount Hood at the same elevation. Look what we have here at Tom, Dick, and Harry. For about 2 years now, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network tried to hide information from Tom, Dick, and Harry. They hid it, not putting up for the public. Now, guys, this may be what I'm doing here today. I pulled this information here. PNSN didn't block it like they did the other information from Mount Rainier. They blocked it. But here at Tom, Dick, and Harry, you are showing seismic activity here. Harmonic tremors here at Tom, Dick, and Harry as well. We see some minor earthquakes happening. Minor earthquakes and tremors here. Look at that. And guys, it continued all throughout this afternoon as well. Continued all throughout this afternoon as well. Craziness. Mount Hood, guys, is active. Mount Hood, guys, is active. Don't ever let anybody tell you that nothing's going on. Yes, sometimes they want us to believe nothing's going on. They hide the information. But it's still happening. They're just not showing it. I want to go over to Newberry Volcano now. Newberry Volcano. In this case, look what's happening here at Newberry Volcano. This is Cinder Hill, Newberry Volcano. Yes, we're having activity here. Okay? This happens to be the HHN channel here. Or the BHN channel, the BHN channel. This seismograph here is a multi-channel seismograph. We're showing activity here. Magma coming into the magma chamber here. Look at the activity here. We are also showing minor tremors and minor earthquakes here. Minor tremors and minor earthquakes here. Late morning, early afternoon, look at this. More activity here. Unreal. Yes, guys, this is at Newberry Volcano. Newberry Volcano is active. One more here at Newberry Volcano here. Actually, no, let's go to Newberry Volcano, Newberry Crater. Newberry Crater here. This is a separate location here, separate seismograph. In this case, the seismograph is showing us magma pulse signals here. Magma pulse signals here. The thicker lines, more magma. The thinner the lines, less magma here. Magma pulse signals here. Yes, we're seeing magma coming into this volcano here. Less magma sometimes than others. Then this afternoon, it almost all goes away until this afternoon. Look what's happening here this afternoon. What are those lines at the bottom left-hand side? What are these lines at the bottom left-hand side? Earthquakes. Earthquakes on that blue line after 11:43 this morning. That is a 3.0 earthquake at Newberry Volcano. Newberry Crater Volcano. Yes, you see some other tremors and some other minor earthquakes on that black line up at the top right side. That is after approximately 11:31 this morning on that black line. Minor earthquakes hitting. Newberry Volcano is active. It's active. In the past, the Pacific Seismic Network doesn't want us to see it. They've hidden the data. That happens too frequently. Happens quite a bit. Now, I was not able to obtain data from Crater Lake, which is South Central Oregon. Crater Lake in South Central Oregon, they basically had it disappear. There's only one seismograph that's very active, but they've taken it down. It's not showing any activity at all. Nothing. That's what USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network do best. They make sure we don't see activity. They take it off. Do we have any questions? Guys? I want to briefly show you the USGS map here. I'm going to take down a webcam. I'm going to take down our EMA banner here. Over here in the Rat Islands here. This is real information, guys. In the Rat Islands here, there is activity. This activity doesn't belong to the Rat Islands, though. This activity belongs to Attu Station to the west. This is a 4.3 earthquake here at Attu Station. Actually 150 miles southeast of Attu Station. 4.3 earthquake here. Attu Station's right there. This island right here in your screen here is Attu Station. We had a World War II battle here. There's World War II equipment still sitting here on Attu Station. We also had a Coast Guard location here on the east side of the station. They've since abandoned it in 2023. The Coast Guard abandoned Attu Station 2023. Now, 2 months ago, we had a 6.6 earthquake here. Where you see this earthquake? Approximately 143 miles southeast of Attu Station. 6.6 very strong earthquake. We are still seeing aftershocks here. We'll still see aftershocks for probably months and months and months from now. Atu Station as a result of earthquakes here southwest of Atu Station here. Now I'm going to pull this back here. There was an earthquake here at Hokkaido, Japan. There was an earthquake here at Hokkaido, Japan. They've taken it down. Yesterday, we had a very strong 6 point something, I don't remember what it was, at Hokkaido, Japan, yesterday afternoon. I'm going to bring up my other device because my other device here is going to show you earthquake activity here at Hokkaido, Japan. USGS not showing it. They don't want us to believe anything's going on here, but there is. There's plenty of activity here in Hokkaido, Japan. Oh, geez. Europeans have also taken down the activity at Hokkaido, Japan. But south there, northeast of Honshu, Japan here, we have a 3.4 earthquake here, northeast of Hokkaido, Japan. Or not Hokkaido, northeast of Honshu, Japan. Let me bring up our webcam here so I can show you this activity. This is a 3.4 earthquake here, northeast of Honshu, Japan. Okay, 3.4 small earthquake here, offshore from Honshu, Japan, in the ocean. Nobody felt it. It's a small earthquake. And the ocean here absorbed the shockwaves as a quake anyway. Further offshore, here's a moderate 4.3 that are hit here too. They're not showing that either. South there, again, over here near Ibaraki prefecture or province here, the coast of Ibaraki province here, we have a 3.0 earthquake here. On land near Sakurajima, Japan. This is a small 3.2 earthquake here. This is near Sakurajima volcano. South of there, this is a 2.3 minor earthquake here. USGS not showing any of the activity at all. Nothing. Not a thing. USGS would have us believe nothing happens here. Really? Nothing happens here. It does. They just don't want to show it to us. They're showing us one earthquake here in Indonesia. I told you before, they had an earthquake in Sumatra, Indonesia, out here to the east here. Now they're showing us one earthquake here. This earthquake here is near Modisi, Indonesia. Near Modisi, Indonesia. This is a 4.6 earthquake here. 4.6 earthquake here. Now, it's not the only earthquake here. This is not the only earthquake here, guys. Not at all. Look at all the other earthquakes here. See that swarm of earthquakes? That's because 2 weeks ago, we had a 7.4 earthquake here. We're still seeing swarms of earthquakes hit here because Earth is trying to get back to where it was before that major earthquake hit. That's why we're seeing earthquakes here in north central Indonesia. Earthquakes are happening all over the place. All over the place. Look at this. All kinds of earthquakes all over Indonesia. And even over here in Sumatra, Indonesia here. Like I said, USGS had shown one earthquake here in Sumatra, Indonesia, and I believe it was right here, offshore here. They showed this 2.90 offshore Sumatra. But again, it's not the only earthquakes that hit here. Not the only earthquakes that hit here. Northern Sumatra here. I'm going to show this going north to south here. Northern Sumatra, this is a 3.5 earthquake. South of there, just barely south and east of there, 2.7, 2.5. Central Sumatra, 2.5. 2.93.0 right there. Southern Sumatra, we've got 6 earthquakes. Southern Sumatra, we have 6 earthquakes right there. South, north to south here, 2.8, 2.6, 3.2, 3.1, 2.6, and 3.3. Small and minor earthquakes down to the south. Job Indonesia. Job Indonesia. Lots and lots of earthquakes. These are 3.0 to 3.9 earthquakes here. 3.0, 3.9 earthquakes. Out here to the east, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, 2.6, 2.6. Okay. All of a sudden I got a heat wave here. It's getting hot here in our office here. Going over to Papua, Indonesia. Papua, Indonesia here. 2.8 minor earthquake. Going east. 2.7, 2.6, 3.9, 4.0 right there. Papua New Guinea. We have a 3.5 and a 2.9 earthquake in eastern Papua New Guinea. Minor earthquake and small earthquake there. Nothing really to shout about. That's all in Papua New Guinea at all. But let's go over to Australia. Australia, guys. South Central Australia. Right here. We have a 2.7 earthquake right there. 2.7 minor earthquake right there. That's in Kelowna, South Australia. Kelowna, South Australia right there. USGS probably would never show that. Never show it to you. In Tonga here. Tonga and Fiji. Vanuatu here. Solomon Islands, they're not showing anything at all. Nothing. Down here, north of New Zealand here, the Kermadec Islands, guess what? Earthquakes. Small and moderate earthquakes here in the Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands here are a bird sanctuary. Bird sanctuary, nobody lives there. Going south here, different story. North Island here. North Island, New Zealand, where people live. Minor earthquakes here. Minor and small earthquakes here. North of just laying New Zealand right here, this is a 2.7 earthquake. Minor 2.7 earthquake. There's a small swarm of earthquakes here, however. 2.5, 2.7s. Small swarm of earthquakes right there. Just offshore of Gislane, New Zealand. 2.72, 2.24, 2.57, 2.26, 2.63, 2.46, 2.52, 2.40, and 2.46. Minor earthquakes right there. Minor earthquakes offshore. Then over here, Waimata, New Zealand, 3.39 earthquake. 3.39 small earthquake there off the east island of off the east shore of the North Island there. Okay. Now, that's not all, folks. There's more. Further south, Wairoa, 2.42 and a 2.48 earthquake right there. The east shore of the North Island. Further south, 2.24, and 2.30. Now, before we leave this area, I want to show you the supervolcano here, on the North Island of New Zealand, right here. It's called Topo Lake. It is a supervolcano here on the North Island. Just west of the supervolcano, we have a 2.48 earthquake. 2.48 minor earthquake. Further to the northwest, here is a 2.36 minor earthquake here in New Zealand. Again, nobody feels these minor earthquakes unless you're very, very sensitive. Down to the south, right next to a volcano here, right next to a volcano right there. Here we have a 2.53 earthquake. 2.5 earthquake. South there in the Cook Strait. The water between the North and South Island is called the Cook Strait. We have earthquakes here. That's a 2.31. 2.31 earthquake. South there we have a 2.49. Minor earthquakes here. Still in the Cook Strait, we have 2.36 and 3.944.0 here on the north shore of the North Island, or South Island, the north shore of the South Island here. 3.944.0 earthquake right there. Okay? Yes, they felt this. Anybody living here, they felt it. This is Kiwi Bay. Kiwi Bay. Anybody here that felt that? Yes, we have people here from New Zealand watch this channel. Further south on the west side of the South Island. West side of the South Island. 2.85 minor earthquake. Another 2.85 twin earthquakes right there. The west side of the South Island. Going to the south here. The central part of the South Island here. We have a 2.22 earthquake. 2.22 earthquake. Look at that. It's on the fault line. The Tonga Ridge. The Tonga Ridge, guys. Now, the Tonga Ridge comes out of Tonga way up here to the north. Way up here to the north. It goes down the east side of the North Island here. Down the east side of the North Island. Then once it passes the South Island, the North Island, it goes down here into the South Island there. That may be why we had this minor earthquake right there. That might be why we had this earthquake on the South Island right there. Further to the south on the east side of the island. Macraes, New Zealand. Macraes, New Zealand. 2.68 earthquake. On the west side, North Southland, New Zealand. Southland Region Park, New Zealand. 2.35 earthquake, and two more further south here. We have a 2.66 and a 3.18 small earthquake there. Southland Park, New Zealand here. On that same earthquake fault. The Tonga Ridge earthquake fault. That's what happens. That's what happens. Again, USGS not showing a thing. Not a thing here. They never do. They rarely ever do. One slide, I believe it was last Friday, they showed us a 4.6 earthquake down here in the Cook Strait here. 4.6 earthquake last Friday down here. They rarely show any activity at all. Going over here to South America. There are 42 earthquakes here in South America. 42 earthquakes here in South America. All over here Neither Chile, Peru, Ecuador, or Colombia. They're all along the west coast of South America here. Most of them are right down here. Over here in central Chile off the west coast. Right here. 12 earthquakes right here. 13 more right here. USGS only showing us 2 here. This is a 4.3 here. This is a 4.3 earthquake here. There are 4.5s and 4.7 earthquakes also happening here as well. Again, USGS doesn't want to show anything at all. Nothing. Nothing at all. Now, guys, they must have added some earthquakes here because now we have 110 plus, we have 2, 4, 6, 7. There's probably over 20 earthquakes here in central Chile. 20 earthquakes here in central Chile. Just to give you an idea. 3.5s. 3.5s. 2.8s. 2.5s. 2.5s. 3.2s. All earthquakes are here in central Chile. Central Chile. Some of these earthquakes are offshore. 2.8, 4.0 earthquake there. 4.0 earthquake right there. Going north. Look at all the earthquakes up here to the north. Lots of earthquakes. I'm going to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26 earthquakes here to the north. 26 earthquakes here to the north. That's just in Chile. That's just here in Chile. Earthquake up to the north, Tarapacá County, Chile. 3.2 small earthquake there. Offshore, we have a 3.1 small quake. 3.1 small quake. Going into Peru, Arequipa, Peru. 3.5 earthquake there. Arequipa, Peru, a 3.5 earthquake. The USGS not showing at all. They're not showing it. It's right there. Let's open this up here. Going north. Going north right here. We have a 3.6 here near Huánuco, Peru here. 3.6 small earthquake here near Huánuco, Peru. On the east side of the Andes Mountains here. On the east side of the Andes Mountains here. Huánuco, Peru. Colombia. Merino, Colombia. 3.0 earthquake here. 3.0 earthquake. USGS not showing one of them. Not one earthquake. We've got a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 earthquakes here in Colombia. They're not showing any of them. Going north. Santander, Colombia. Santander, Colombia. We have like 3 earthquakes here. A 2.6, a 3.4, 2.6, 3.6, 3.4. And we have another 3.6. We have 2 3.6s, a 3.4 earthquake here in Santander, Colombia. Going north, 5 more earthquakes. Actually, this is in Venezuela now. We crossed over into the border of Venezuela. 3.1 earthquake. 2.4 earthquake here to the shoreline. That's near Santa Marta, Venezuela. Out to sea here. A 3.1 here in the harbor. 3.1 small earthquake here in the harbor. South there. Azula, Venezuela, 2.7. A 2.2 near Noreste de Sonora here in Venezuela. Minor earthquakes there. Guess what? They're not showing hardly anything going on at all in South America. Guess what? Guess what they're not showing us here in South America, Central America? More earthquakes. Costa Rica. Small and moderate earthquakes here in Costa Rica. Going north here, 10 plus earthquakes. Nicaragua, we have a 4.0 earthquake right here. We have multiple 4.0 earthquakes here. 4.0, 3.21, 2.5, 2.6, and another 4.0 earthquake. Then we go further north. Go figure. 2.7 earthquake here offshore Guatemala. Offshore Guatemala. On the north side of this earthquake fault, we have a 2.9 earthquake here. Then we get into southern Mexico. Southern Mexico. Look what starts here in southern Mexico. Swarms of earthquakes. Swarms of earthquakes. 3.7, 3.8, 3.8, 3.7, 3.7s, 4.1. This is just southern Mexico, the southernmost part of Mexico. We'll get into a bunch of threes here. Bunch of threes here. Offshore, more threes and fours here. Let's go further to north here. Look at this. 62 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. A total of 62 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. Going just south of Puerto Vallarta. South of Puerto Vallarta here. 2.4 minor earthquake there. South of there, 3.5, 3.3, another 3.5. Offshore, on the San Andres Fault, two more earthquakes. 3.8 and 3.7 earthquake here. 3.7, 3.8 earthquake offshore here on the San Andres Fault. Yes, folks, the San Andres Fault starts up north, connecting with the triple junction at the Cascadia subduction zone, going all the way down here in southern Mexico. All the way down here in southern Mexico. That's where the San Andres Fault is. All kinds of earthquakes here in southern Mexico. All kinds of earthquakes here in southern Mexico, even Cabo San Lucas today. Cabo San Lucas, guys. Some earthquakes here. 1.5, 1.5, and 1.8 here in Cabo San Lucas. Offshore Cabo, 4 more earthquakes. 3.3, 3.4, 3.3, and 3.2. Small earthquakes northwest or southwest of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Then we go over to the San Andres Fault again. At the entrance from the Pacific Ocean into the Gulf of California. 2 more earthquakes right there. The southernmost one is a 3.6 earthquake. Going north here. This is a 3.3 small earthquake there. We go north here. All the way through the Gulf. No more earthquakes until we get to northern Baja. We have a 3.7 near San Felipe, the 3.8 just west of there. 3.7, 3.8 earthquake near San Felipe, Mexico there. Up to the north. Up to the north. They don't want to show you what's going on here. They're not showing anything here in southern Mexico. They're not showing earthquakes here in the Baja. They're not showing you the two small earthquakes in the Gulf of California. They're also showing you almost nothing here in California. In California here. South of the border here, Mexico. 2.4 earthquake down here near Delta, Mexico. Delta, Mexico. They're showing one earthquake. Well, guess what? There's a 2.42, which is showing there. There's also 3.5 here. They're also showing a 3.5 here. Heaven forbid the USGS shows us that. Heaven forbid. Let's go into California. Let's go into California. This time, the town of Imperial, just north of El Centro. The town of Imperial, just north of El Centro here. This is just east of Naval Air Station El Centro. Just east Naval Air Station El Centro. We have a 1.2 tremor here in the Imperial Valley. In the Imperial Valley. But guys, guess what? It's not the only earthquake here. I promise you that. Neither the USGS or, I'm going to say or, European agencies can show you these earthquakes. Right here, Calipatria. Calipatria right here. I checked the earthquakes here in Calipatria earlier. There are 98 earthquakes here in Calipatria today. 98. Ranging in size from tremors, small earthquakes 3.0, 3.5, and one 4.2 earthquake here in Calipatria, California today. Northern Imperial County. The north part of the Imperial County here. Just south of the Salton Sea. Just south of the Salton Sea. What they're also not showing you are earthquakes here at Bombay Beach. Earthquakes showing you here at Bombay Beach. There are earthquakes there, guys. I can promise you that. There are earthquakes. There are 17 earthquakes. 3.0 to 3.9 earthquakes here, going up to 4.6 earthquakes here at Bombay Beach. Small to moderate earthquakes here at Bombay Beach today. Craziness. Insane. Insane. These earthquakes occur here at Bombay Beach every day. These kind of earthquakes occur here at Bombay Beach every day. Small to moderate earthquakes occur at Bombay Beach every day. Guess what? You back it off, you can also see the San Andreas Fault here. The San Andreas Fault runs all the way through California, all the way down here north or east of Los Angeles, comes down here east of San Diego County, going in here to Imperial County, and here it causes earthquakes, causes all kinds of earthquakes. The San Andreas Fault is going to do that. The San Andreas Fault is going to do that. They're not showing you any activity at all here in Los Angeles. They're not showing you any activity at all. There is activity here. Regardless of what they have to say, there's activity here. There is always activity here. Promise you, there's always activity here. Whether they want to show it to you or not, there's activity here. The San Andreas Fault is active. The San Andreas Fault is active, guys. Look at the earthquakes on the San Andreas Fault and west of the San Andreas on the San Jacinto Fault here. Look at all these earthquakes, literally all over the San Andreas Fault. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you this. We're due for a 6.5 to 7.5 earthquake on the San Andreas Fault right here. On the San Andreas Fault right here. Here today, Loma Linda, California, San Andreas Fault, 0.92 minor tremor. 0.2 minor tremor. I'm calling that 1.0 tremor because it's a 0.92 over a 0.9 minor earthquake, minor tremor there. Okay? Right next to it. Literally right next to it. Here is a 0.69 microquake, Mentone, California, on the San Andreas. It's moving, guys. It's moving. Further south on the San Andreas, Garnett, California, 0.82 microquake. The San Andreas Fault is moving. The scientists are telling us that there's going to be a major earthquake here any day. It's imminent. It's imminent. It could happen today. It could happen tomorrow, next week or next year, but they say it's imminent. It's going to happen. The San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded here. You're going to see it happen. You are going to see it happen. Now, I want to take you offshore here, actually over on the coastline. The coastline here. Dana Point, California. Dana Point. This is a 0.54 microquake. Now, guys, this is the first time, the very first time I've ever seen USGS show a 0.54 microquake. They've never done it before. They've never ever done it before. But they're doing it here today. Dana Point, they're showing a 0.54 microquake. That's very unusual. Very unusual. A microquake nobody feels. A tremor nobody feels. A tremor is larger than a microquake. A 2.0, 2.9 minor earthquake nobody feels. They don't feel an earthquake till it's at least a 3.0, 3.2. But a 0.54 minor microquake, Dana Point, California. That's insanity. That's almost insanity. Going up north here, Windsor Hills View Park, right here. This is a 1.3 tremor here. They usually don't even show tremors here at all. 1.34 tremor here. Over here, guess what? Whittier, California. Whittier, California. They never, ever show earthquakes here. This is a 0.9 microquake. 0.9 microquake. Whittier, California. They never show microquakes here at all. Never. Never, ever. Insane, guys. Insane. Further south, just south of Corona, 1.55 tremor. They're not showing that either. Not showing that either. They don't want to show us earthquakes at all. Heaven forbid they show earthquakes here in California. Rarely ever. They only want to show us what they want to show us, and that's it. There are all kinds of earthquakes here. Los Angeles and San Diego County. They're everywhere. We are expecting a major earthquake to hit on the San Andreas Fault east of Los Angeles very soon. Very soon. It's going to happen. It's a matter of time. We don't know when. Now, speaking of that, let's go over here to the New Madrid Fault. Later this week, I'm going to show you earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault here. Right here. Ridgely, Tennessee. This week, I show you earthquakes here in Ridgely, Tennessee. USGS is showing us a 1.5 tremor here, Ridgely. It's not the only earthquake here in Ridgely at all. There are dozens of minor tremors here just like this. There's 2.5, 2.7, 3.0 earthquakes hitting here in Ridgely, Tennessee today. They're not showing hardly anything going on. Northern Alabama. This is the first time in my career, first time in 7 years I've been showing you earthquakes here. This is the first earthquake here in Northern Alabama. This is a minor 2.5 earthquake here near Trinity, Alabama. 2.5 minor earthquake here in Trinity, Alabama. Guess what? It's down here in the southern part of the Eastern Continental Divide. The southern part of the Eastern Continental Divide. There are earthquakes all over the Continental Divide here. All over the Eastern Continental Divide. Later this week, I'm going to show you earthquakes here as well. Happening. They're happening, guys. Texas. Southwestern Texas. We have swarms of earthquakes here that happen every day. These earthquakes happen here every day. Right here you see several earthquakes here that just happened. They just happen here. Let me show you these. These are in oil and gas pumping regions. Oil and gas fields here. This earthquake is 1.6 tremor here near Toyah, Texas. This is 1.8 tremor, Toyah, Texas. This earthquake is a 2.3 minor earthquake, Toyah, Texas. We have all kinds of oil and gas pumping operations going on here. All kinds of them. Up to the north, this is 1.8 tremor. This is 1.6. Down here to the south, this is 1.8. 24 miles northwest of Toyah, Texas. These earthquakes happen here all the time. All the time. These earthquakes are also not the only earthquakes that are hitting here. All the time, guys. Southwestern Texas is an earthquake magnet. Earthquake magnet. Because of all the oil and gas drilling going on here. All the oil and gas drilling going on is causing these earthquakes. They're fracking quakes. These earthquakes are fracking quakes. Now, getting away from earthquakes right now. I'm going to warn everybody. Right now, we are starting to see very severe thunderstorms here. Very severe thunderstorms. Some of these thunderstorms here in central United States are going to cause tornadoes. They're going to cause tornadoes. Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, going down here to the south, Arkansas, Missouri, even over here in Oklahoma. Eastern Oklahoma is going to get hit with tornadoes tonight. Going further over here into Kentucky. You may also see Kentucky get hit with earthquakes, not earthquakes, but tornadoes tonight. Severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. Down here in the program description, right below this video. Down below our video program here today, in the program description, you're going to see a link to Ryan Hall Y'all. Ryan Hall Y'all is a YouTube meteorologist. I urge all of you here that would like to or who live here in this area to go and click on his Ryan Hall Y'all link so you can watch what's going on. And you may have to even go into tornado shelters here tonight. Last night it happened from yesterday afternoon all the way up until about 1 a.m. this morning when I finally left the program. Go to Ryan Hall Y'all and watch the tornadoes and severe thunderstorms pass through this area. Now these thunderstorms are also going to move east. They're going to move east in the next few days over here at the East Coast. We're going to see some rain here on the East Coast in South and North Carolina, going into Virginia, West Virginia, going up into Washington, going up into Rhode Island, and Massachusetts as well. Very soon you're going to see these storms move up here. All of us need to be aware of what's going on, guys. Have your head on a swivel. Right now, today, we have broken high clouds here, maybe clouds upwards of 5 to 10,000 feet high above the ground. But sometime either tonight or tomorrow, we're expecting some rain. So get prepared, guys. Get prepared. Make sure you have your head on a swivel. Tune in to Ryan Hall Y'all tonight and prepare yourself for thunderstorms, very severe thunderstorms, rain, some flooding, and possibility of tornadoes tonight. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I promise you. With that said, does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody have any questions for me? My dear friend Laura Marie is tuned into our channel. We thank you for being here, Laura Marie. God bless you. Laura and Marie go back a lot of years, more years than either one of us want to talk about. She's one of the women that I highly recognize. One of my dearest friends. I love her so much. It's unreal. I love all you. I love all of our EMA family here very much. You're my family. You're my family. That's what we talk about with all these earthquakes today. I want you to be aware of what's going on. I forgot one earthquake here. This is in the Pacific Northwest, off of the Blanco fracture zone, off of Bend, Oregon here. This is a 2.93 points earthquake here. This is a 3.0 earthquake here. 145 miles west-northwest of Bend, Oregon, on the Blanco fracture zone. Further to the south, right between the Cascadia subduction zone and the California coastline. This is a 2.6 earthquake off of Trinidad, California. Off the coast of Trinidad, California, 2.6 earthquake here. In the Cascadia subduction zone region. The southern Cascadia subduction zone region, guys. Again, this area has a lot of earthquakes. We talked about them earlier. I talked about the volcanoes as well. Be safe out there, guys. Be very safe. Know that we love you. Love you very much. Now, guys, I'm going to leave this here, and I'm just going to give you one last thought here. Again, I'm going to the scriptures, into the New Testament here. I'm going into 2 Corinthians where Paul is talking to the Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 14 and 15. Now thanks be unto God, which always causes us to triumph in Christ, and maketh manifest the savor of his knowledge, by us in every place. For we are unto God a sweet and savor of Christ, meaning we are a sweet and savor taste of Christ. Savor means taste. Savor of life unto death. Savor unto life unto life. And who is sufficient for these things? Who is sufficient? All of us are sufficient. All of the believers of Jesus Christ are sufficient to believe in Christ and be saved by Jesus Christ. To have his Spirit to be with us and to guide us and direct us every day and to make us happy, bring us joy in the life of Christ. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. May God be with you until we meet again. And I say that very humbly. In the name of our Savior, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe out there. God bless you. We'll see you on the other side. Take extra care. Enjoy. Bye-bye. Oh, isn't that interesting? I don't have any music. For some reason, it's not going to give us any music. So, guys, I'm going to tell you, have a good night. Be safe out there. Take care. God bless. See you soon. Good night, everybody.